Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Woodstock, Georgia, it's time for Cherokee Business Radio. Now, here's your host.
Welcome to Cherokee Business Radio. Stone Payton here with you this morning, and today's episode is brought to you in part by Alma Coffee. Sustainably grown, veteran-owned, and direct trade, which means, of course, from seed to cup, there are no middlemen. Please go check them out at myalmacoffee.com and go visit their Roastery Cafe at 3448 Holly Springs Parkway in Canton. Ask for Leticia or Harry and tell them that Stone sent you. You guys are in for a real treat this morning. Please join me in welcoming to the broadcast. First up on Cherokee Business Radio this morning, founder and CEO with Viking Strategy and Coaching, Mr. Jeremy Gustafson. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Stone. So happy to be here.
Well, we're delighted to have you in the studio, man. Before we dive too deep, a little bit of a primer, overview, mission, purpose. What are you and your team out there trying to do for folks, man?
Yeah, so, after almost I don't want to date myself, but
you go tell on his age right out of the box.
Multi-decade career, mostly in marketing leadership, chief strategy, chief marketing officer, but also as a general manager of several businesses, including 2 startups and 2 roll-ups that were successfully recapitalized.
You can't keep a job, can you?
No, I can't sit still. And, what I realized is my favorite part of the whole thing was the people thing and coaching and looking for that next Jeremy, that next person who was going to do what I was doing and cultivating that. And I was so blessed and so lucky, have been and still am, because they're still in my life, to have so many mentors and coaches. But the people side of the business was really, I didn't like spreadsheets. I didn't like HR. I didn't like finance. I did fine at all those things. But it was really the people side of the business that got me up in the morning and made me feel fulfilled at night. And so I decided, as this chapter in my career, I would dedicate it solely to coaching. And I still do some strategy work for retailers and marketing agencies, but really the coaching, especially emerging leaders, is really my passion. And giving people tools that I wish I had when I was at their stage of development. And so it's been a really good choice. I did this just before COVID.
Okay. Interesting.
December of 19, I transitioned out of my previous firm and took my payout and used that money to get some certifications in coaching. And ILEC, Intelligent Leadership Executive Coaching, found me about 6 months later. And it seemed like the perfect way to really fulfill my career objectives financially, but also be able to give back, on the other hand, for folks that really could use some coaching. So
let's go there for a moment, because I would like to get a handle on what you perceive as the virtues of investing the time and energy of getting certified as a coach.
Yeah. I was never the best student. I mean, I got good grades and all that, but I was bored.
Right.
As you can tell from your previous comments, I can't keep a job, right? So I was bored, but I really wanted to know more. I wanted to know more about myself, and really investigated some fear, some vulnerability, some of the inner workings. We call it inner core in ILEC, which is who our character is, right? It's not quantitative. It's truly qualitative. We all have different aspects of that. We've got these great assessments that help bring that out, but then there's also how we show up to others, our outer core, right? Which in our mind is different than what people see, right? So how you show up. And so the beautiful thing about ILEC is that we look at both, and then we develop plans to develop with both of those things in mind.
Now, are you finding yourself as your practice continues to evolve, because this particular world hasn't been at it that long, are you finding yourself gravitating to a certain sector of the, like a certain industry or a geography, or
I do like
a niche of some sort?
I've had some in-person meetings recently here in Atlanta. I live in the city, and I've had some coffees and some lunches, and it feels really good to like kind of wake up, shake off the pandemic a little bit.
Yeah.
There's just nothing like that. But as far as the industries I know are the marketing and advertising agencies, which I've run several for many years, but also big retailers. I work with Home Depot, Bed Bath & Beyond, Office Depot, Lowe's, all of like many big retailers. And I really have a passion for that. And I think what it came down to was the complexity, the velocity, and the volume of a big retailer. These complicating factors that I was really into. I studied math in college.
I'm sorry.
And I know, right? And I had no idea that it would come into play 30 years later. And I just said it in my career.
Right.
And so but it's been very useful. I've kept a lot of the tech guys real honest. They have that veil of secrecy of the tech thing, but I've been able to manage that and have a lot of fun with it. And, I just like very, very fast-paced businesses.
Well, that would certainly be a major descriptor of most retail, I would think.
No kidding.
Anything these days.
Yeah. It's competitive out there, but it's been really fun to see some of our clients like Big Lots, TJX, like some of them doing really well in the pandemic.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the work a little bit.
Yeah.
You're working with one person at a time, a cohort, a group, or do you have some different ways of executing the work?
Yeah, I can carry about 6 or 8 individual clients at a time.
Okay.
We meet kind of every other week, but there's a lot of work that happens in between for both of us.
Sure.
For both me and the person I'm coaching.
Right.
I like group stuff, especially for emerging leaders. You get 4 or 5 guys and gals together in a room, and then you kind of set the stage and you watch what happens with them.
I bet they learn a lot from each other too. It's not all from the Guru Gustafson, right?
I've got to say this. I might learn more in my coaching than the people I'm actually coaching learn. Every interaction, I've learned something. And when I work with there's 10 of us now, ILEC coaches, handpicked by John Mattone to carry his legacy, and trained firsthand by him.
Wow.
And if you haven't looked up John Mattone, the folks listening, maybe check him out. But he coached Steve Jobs.
That's pretty good pedigree.
In Steve's last year of his job, but he's also coached heads of states and other folks. He's got a big name in EMEA, so Europe, Middle East.
Right.
Asia.
So these folks, they're learning from themselves. You're guiding these cohorts, these groups with the right kinds of questions and conversations and that kind of thing.
And that's the secret of coaching. Like, I was a consultant for so long, where you come in, you fix a problem, you lay down the PowerPoint, and you get your check and you walk out. Right? And so that's not like this. This is getting other people to do the work and guiding them.
Right.
So I have work to do as a coach on the backside, but really it's about putting the work back on these folks and having them look in the mirror.
So are you finding, I'm almost certain the answer is yes, so I will just say, are you finding? What patterns are you finding? What kind of things are you seeing over and over, and you're starting to learn the terrain a little bit? I suspect there are some repeating patterns in this work.
That's absolutely right, Stone. It's fear, and then it's vulnerability. Those are the 2 keys. So recognizing our fears, we get comfortable, we get lazy, we get really good at doing the wrong things. Because that's what we've always done, right?
Right.
But when we get vulnerable and we open ourselves up and we tell our team, I don't have all the answers, suddenly a whole new world opens up and people want to follow you. and you become a leader, there's that fear of loss or criticism, rejection, fear of change, even fear of success is a big problem that I see in a lot of folks.
Isn't that odd? Because they think that the balance of their world is going to change if they, or do we know why?
I think that I think maybe we fear the responsibility that comes along with success. When you wake up to success, we all see success up on the hill.
Right.
And we're like, oh, I want that. And then you get closer and you're like, oh, I've got a lot of work to do if I get up on that hill. And like people, the closer they get to that leadership position, the more they know, oh, that guy, that gal in the corner office has got a lot weighing on her mind every night, right? And it takes that, but the cost of not doing that, is we lose clients, we lose revenue, our work culture doesn't follow our lead, right? Or it does, I should say, if we're in a negative place.
And it follows your actual lead, not what you printed on the wallet card or the hall poster, right? They follow what the real lead.
Vision, values, come on. Unless you're walking and talking, like walking the walk, right? It doesn't stick. Right?
All right, so let's go back a minute to, I get some insight. So now I really do have a pretty good handle on what to do. Mm-hmm. And I think I'll do that tomorrow. And it's when I have a tendency, back when I had a home with a yard, I would mow the grass tomorrow. Right.
Yeah.
That's a real thing, right? I'm not the only one that falls into this trap.
Oh no. We have a 14-year-old son who always is mowing the lawn tomorrow. It's great. And he's phenomenal.
Sorry. What's his name?
Mason.
Mason, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hang you out to dry, buddy. I was trying to put it on me. I apologize.
Yeah. And so it's, but it's interesting because I'm with you on that. It's so easy to say tomorrow. And I think the work we do and the way that we dig in, we get these inner core assessments. We dig in real deep. We show it back to you. We share it. We talk about it. We do the outer core. We share it with those that choose to do so are the ones that win big. We call it STLI. We have all these acronyms, but it's really just all your peers, your bosses, and your employees rating you on some simple scales. Mm-hmm. And then 6 months later doing it again. And we've shown tremendous movement in those ratings over 6 months of introspective work. And once we do that, we put people through a core purpose exercise. Like, why are you on the planet? Mm-hmm. And this doesn't necessarily have to do with your job, right?
Right.
It doesn't. And so we'll do core purpose work. Then we develop these individual leadership development plans. They're highly, highly focused on that person. You pick 2 or 3 things max to focus on. We look at the gaps. We look at the strengths. I prefer to invest in strengths. I'd rather put $1 in your strength than 10 cents in your weakness. Let's acknowledge that weakness and say, that's not you. And so move into your strengths. Otherwise, we're just, it becomes moving everybody to the middle, and we don't want to do that.
So the one that I picked on, because I know it's a trap I can fall into, procrastination, is that one of the more prevalent that you see, or does it just happen to be one of them and there's a whole bunch?
Yeah, I think procrastination is just a manifestation of fear.
Okay.
Yeah. I've experienced it myself. I can say this personally. Mm-hmm. I've had to look in the mirror, and the coaching business, honestly, has been like my own personal therapy, right?
Right.
So I knew I could be a better leader. I did some nice things, and I had some nice returns in my business career. But I think about when I think of it, and shoulda, coulda, woulda, right? But I think about what it could have been if I had some of these tools. Yeah. And so that's really why I like investing in emerging leaders and get them early.
Right.
Give them the tools. And no one teaches leaders. There's no manual for leadership, right?
So let's talk about you talked about the returns. Let's talk about this whole cost benefit analysis of jumping through these hoops, going through a process like yours.
Yeah.
If you don't, I suspect the tab could get pretty high. And if you do, I suspect your experience has been the returns can get pretty high.
Well, you're right on the money there. And we've got data. We have over 10,000 people now in our database of Enneagrams. which is a 9-point leadership study. So we weight everybody in terms of their styles and their strengths. And we see across the board, those that have gone through a journey of 6+ months.
Yeah.
I think the last study we did of the last 100 was 98 received a positive ROI marking from their teams.
Wow.
And a very significant percentage one too. And again, the math guy comes out of me, but it's pretty remarkable how much they did that. But it's the ongoing benefits, right, and the growth of their culture. And once a leader's been coached, they want you to come in and coach their lieutenants, and they drink the Kool-Aid, if you will, and. You know, they really want you to come in and you guys must experience that. And at this point, because the leader did it and he was open or she was open about it, the team doesn't feel put upon. They feel like this is a benefit, and it actually becomes a retention thing and a leadership development thing where they feel invested in and that your company cares about them.
It's not framing that I have seen back in a previous career. Can you fix Bob? That's not good framing, right?
Yeah.
But what you're describing, they feel great.
Hey, Bob, Jeremy's going to fix you.
Right. But I've seen that. That has really happened.
And it doesn't work, right?
Right,
if you feel put upon, you know, and it's very interesting. We do have a lot of emerging leaders that are requesting these types of services and bringing them to the C-suite. And then we end up, you know, selling is a funny word, but we end up talking with the C-suite to say, look, here are the benefits.
Right.
And when you've got somebody looking for this, you've got a rising star. And there was this old adage, I was from LinkedIn years ago. Gosh, the CFO said, what if we train everybody and they leave? And the CEO says, what if we don't and they stay?
That's putting it in perspective right there. That's fantastic.
Right.
So you're talking about talking to the CEOs. So how does the whole sales and marketing thing work for a guy like you or coaching practice like you? How do you get to have conversations about a perspective about someone becoming a new client?
Yeah, that's been a learning process. Since probably September, I've been actively marketing the coaching services, right? And so you call your circle of influence, and at my stage of my career, it's highly unlikely that I would coach any of my direct contacts because they're so accomplished in their careers, but they have big teams.
Gotcha.
And they work at big companies, and they work at small companies, and they work at emerging companies, right? And so they're like, yeah, like they get it because they know me, right? And I've been coaching all that time with these clients anyway, right? And so, you know, they might be sitting up in Park City, Utah, but give me a name of the chief people officer at the home office and say, pick 3, and, you know, Jeremy's going to take them through the gauntlet and create some leaders here. Let's see what we got. And so that's been my experience. So it's not necessarily... But you as an entrepreneur, you absolutely have to make those calls, make those emails.
You got to keep pumping that handle.
I called 3 buddies on the way up to Woodstock this morning, you know, on my drive. Yeah, just let them know I'm going on the radio.
Cool.
I'm recording. I want to thank you for introducing me to so and so, and going from there. But yeah, you really need to hustle, and I'd say I'm perhaps not the best hustler, but so far so good. And
so what's next for you? Are you going to grow out a team and build this into a coaching business, or is this kind of going to be like the Jeremy shop, or what's the plan?
Oh, no. Yeah. So I've got a couple of cohorts on the strategy side, independents, but we work together very closely as needed on the creative and marketing side. And then on the coaching side, like I said, there's 10 of us. There's a woman, Christy, in Nashville, who I'm really, really interested in working and teaming with.
Yeah.
Bringing her in, bringing some diversity in, bringing that female point of view into some of these organizations, especially for some group stuff. And she's worked very hard within and among the coaches to do kind of an enterprise introduction to places like Amazon, Microsoft, Salesforce, right?
Yeah.
And let ILEC become, kind of get us on the map. And then several of the coaches have now hired other coaches into their business, and that has always been my plan. So I fully see this as a 7-figure business. Having a couple very senior coaches and, just a few of us, 3, 4, 5, building a practice and doing really fulfilling work.
Well, it must be. And I don't mean to suggest for 1 minute that you don't have your own challenges in this line of work, but it must be incredibly rewarding work.
You're right, Stone. And the unanticipated reward was how much I've learned every time I spent any time coaching with anybody. It's remarkable what you learn about yourself and about business and how you can apply that.
But you've tuned yourself you are a life learner. So you've got to have that foundation in place. In fact, maybe that's a good place to wrap for today's segment. And in a moment, I'm going to ask you to share some contact information for people who want to reach out to you. But for those who are maybe not quite ready to do that, but they'd like to cover a little bit of ground, just an individual who may be listening to this live or may tap into this later, are there some kind of self-management strategies, or are there a couple of things, as they say with the exercise equipment, I can do from the comfort of my own home? Are there a couple, pro tips, I guess I would ask for?
Yeah. There's a lot of things that we can do and that I had to do to prep for this work. And I say prep, I mean, months, if not years of thinking about, can I be a better leader? And the mirror is your greatest tool. You look right back in that mirror and you ask yourself, you get vulnerable, you set the fear aside, you say, what do they need today? They being your teams, your clients, the people you're serving. And then that service, it's, we've heard this how many times, like, get a higher power, be of service, and you're going to live a good life, right?
Right.
It's really all coming home for me, and we certainly charge handsomely for our services, and we don't apologize for that.
Right.
It's fulfilling in a very different way, and but you're right. It's incredibly fulfilling to see people have breakthroughs and epiphanies.
Yeah, it would have to be. All right. Before we wrap, let's make sure that our listeners, if they would like to have a conversation with you or someone on your team, let's share some points of contact, whatever's appropriate, email, LinkedIn, website, whatever.
Sure on. So the website is gustafsoncoaching.com. It's a funky name, unless you're up in upper Midwest.
All right, we'll spell it out for them.
It's GUSTAF. as in Frank, SON, coaching.com. You find a lot of resources on that site, a great blog, and a lot of insights about coaching and tools that you can use for yourself, to your point, where we can practice these things at home. And it's Jeremy Gustafson at gmail.com. It's real simple, and I'll leave that one out there because the other one's a little bit more complicated. And if they want to call or text, it's 678-873-3792.
Fantastic. Well, Jeremy Gustafson, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Don't be a stranger. Let's just check in down the road a little bit as you continue to grow. And it might be an interesting segment to have you come in with a delighted client. Like if you have any local clients that would be up for it, that might be fun. And we'll talk about their work too, but maybe talk about the relationship. That might be a fun segment. So put some thought into that.
I've got a couple people in mind that I think would enjoy that very much, and that would be a great experience. And then I know you guys are working on the workplace wisdom concept.
Yes, sir.
And I'm looking forward to that. We can talk about cultural transformation.
Oh, that's right. We're going to see you back soon on Workplace Wisdom. Fun stuff. Thanks. All right. Hey, can you hang out with us while we visit with our next guest?
Absolutely.
All right. Next up on Cherokee Business Radio, please join me in welcoming back to the Business RadioX microphone, CEO of SignStream.net, Mr. Daniel Shub. How are you, man?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Oh, man, I've really been looking forward to this. I appreciate you making a drive out to our cozy little place here in Woodstock. We've done some really neat stuff together. If you come to our Sandy Springs studio, one of the first things that you will see, and it will jump out at you, is a really large screen TV. And you'll see Daniel's work on there because we've got other entities that we like to partner with and we want to give some exposure to. We've got pictures of people in the studio. But I'll quit trying to steal your thunder.
Not at all. That's exactly right. That's my work. My baby is what it is.
So tell folks about your baby and get me updated about your baby.
I appreciate it. So for those who are just meeting me now, again, I'm Daniel Shub, and my marketing company, DKS Design, created our own platform for digital signage or communication. We really wanted to make it easier for small, medium-sized businesses and large companies with offices that have tight-knit teams to communicate easier on these screens that are just usually playing the news or are off a lot of times. We found they were replacing USB ports, and it was just really cumbersome. So a couple of years ago, as smart TVs came out, we released our app and made it easy to control the content from our platform, signstream.net. And that was it. We've been killing it ever since and bringing on new clients and showing them how easy it is to really engage with people doing, what they love doing and getting their message out, whether it's environmental or health related. Offices find all types of uses for it. And then retail stores love it, obviously, for their promotions. And recently, a lot of QR codes are popping up on all the screens, which is great with our easy dynamic features. So more recently, you asked about our recent developments.
Right.
Is we're starting multiple networks around town. So we're partnering with agencies like Local Reda and different chambers around town really, we're building a community of businesses that want to cross promote, right? Mm-hmm. So one business will have mostly their own content on their screens, but they definitely want to, send people next door across the street because they've got a good deal going on. And they keep those deals visually active on the screens and sending people around the city. And really, as people come back out of their houses, they want to spend time outside. They want to be engaged. It's amazing how often people look up from their phones now just to see what the world is like again. It's awesome. So, we've been helping a lot of our marketing clients with that and bringing that kind of service onto their platform. And, it's really a great tool for them to add on to their already extensive services of marketing suites. But they've loved it, and it's just all about how easy it is.
Who are some of your local clients in the Atlanta area?
We ranges all the way from one-shop barbershops to big offices. I've been asked not to name names, but there's some larger names who just have like 5 or 10 TV screens, not connected with any high-end digital signage system, but they're all smart TVs and connected to the internet. So that's really all we should need these days.
Business RadioX is a client, and we don't have a television in this studio. As many of our listeners know, I've lived in the Woodstock area now with my lovely wife, Holly, for just a little over a month, right on the edge of town. The studio is 9/10 of a mile from the house. I mean, this is utopia for me. The only missing part of the puzzle is I need to buy a golf cart. I need, not want. I have to. It's a capital expenditure. It's important. But we'll soon have a screen here in the studio. And as I believe the way this is, I think Angie is someone on our leadership team. I think she'll customize the screen down at Sandy Springs when we have different hosts. In our system, on the client side of our work, Jeremy, oftentimes our clients are actually hosting or co-hosting a show.
Right.
Like we build these shows just for their niche. So it's really cool that, like if you're the client, you're the host or the co-host, and then your guest is coming to the studio, and then they see your company up on the screen, or pictures of you and other guests. So they see, okay, this Jeremy guy, he's, this is not his first rodeo. And Angie's able to do that from in the comfort of her own home, like in North Georgia, right?
That's the beauty of it. It just takes a couple minutes too.
Okay. All right, you got this Local Reda thing going. So break down what's the process for people when they start working for you, or Do they just get on the phone with you and talk it through? Like, well, what's that onboarding look like?
Yeah. So it depends how tech savvy I always like to say. We have, so we've got clients that have reached us from all over the country. They've just found our website online and uploaded some images with some graphics that they created on Canva, which is a super easy tool to create content, or PowerPoint. And they upload their images and videos, hook in some social media feeds. Really, it's all about how easy it is to organize all that content on a channel, we call it, and then display that channel on as many screens as they have at their location. So one client in San Francisco has all of their screens hooked up, and when they go on a business trip to New York, they're controlling it still and updating their team with what they're working on. And it's really cool to watch. And, they'll ask me sometimes, like, how do I do this? Or how does that? And usually it's a really simple answer. Mm-hmm. But then for the more local clients and for the local Reda network that we're establishing specifically, that would be, you can engage us through the website at signstream.net. There's a contact form there. A lot of times they'll email me directly at daniel@signstream.net and send me their ad and tell me where they want to be placed, what area around town, and I'll help them achieve that, whether it's on our network or another one. And yeah, I'm just, if you were listening the whole show, Jeremy was talking about how it's all about where your core values are, right? So we really strongly believe if you want people to know about your business, you've got to be in the local businesses. You've got to be where people want to spend their time, and not necessarily these big flashing ads, but like content that's relevant with promotions of like things that people actually might be interested in doing. So
yeah, the last thing you want to see in the waiting room at the dentist while your daughter's in there getting her braces is another oral hygiene video, right?
Yeah, exactly. Or worse than that, a commercial for candy. As a parent, I don't know.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah, the dentist would definitely want to promote, oral hygiene or like in general and their tips and tricks that they've come up with, or, right. Don't forget to ask for your sticker or whatever they give kids on their way out to remind them of the good experience they had. Mm-hmm. It's all about creating that custom experience in locations, all about this and, being able to do that easily so that it can be updated easily, so that it's relevant. It all comes full circle. And then the QR codes point them back online, and then you're creating a whole dynamic experience that spans from online to in-store, back to online again, and becoming part of people's worlds instead of just ancillary, things around that they live with.
I'm enamored with the network and serving others aspect of this thing, because in the Business RadioX environment, we partner with business associations, like even here locally. I'm beginning to learn how to work and play with in Woodstock and the Woodstock Business Club and the Million Cups folks and all of that. So yeah, I can pop a logo on the wall and that's cool and people will like that. But if on the TV, if it's not all about me, right? And then ideally, maybe when you go to a facility associated with one of those things, ideally maybe Business RadioX is on their TV. And that's the way is that the way these local networks you're describing?
That's the experience.
Cross promote?
Yeah, exactly. It's all about cross promoting and supporting other local businesses and giving a louder voice to smaller businesses that might not have it. And I know the big companies are interested in doing it. And obviously the small companies want that help. They just don't quite know how to get there. So it's one of the most interesting things that I've found in doing this after having a marketing company and helping people get their message on screens in all these different ways before SignStream was the types of people that were actually responsible for the communication. So a lot of times we would deal with the secretary or the HR representative with, them asking us how to do something on their TV when they have a whole IT department who's not interested in helping. So sometimes we'll work directly with the IT team and they'll go, yep, that's great. Go ahead and use it, because they already know that it's an easy solution that won't take any extra time off their hands. Mm-hmm. And, so that was something we had to learn early on.
So the smaller screen that we had at the Sandy Springs studio that was down the street from where we now have the Sandy Springs studio. In fact, I don't know if you've been to the more recent Sandy Springs studio.
Yeah, definitely. I was there.
Okay. All right. So we moved in. So it's a bigger screen.
Yeah.
That smaller screen is in my closet in my home office right now.
That's what I was going to say you should put here.
All right. And so we could hang that puppy up here. You would do some of your magic and I could have Angie or maybe even from here. Maybe it's a whole separate thing since this is its own little deal, but whatever.
Yeah, either way.
And so that's a relatively easy, I mean, yes, you said it depends on your technical savvy. So to me, it's this big hairy monster, but not if I know Daniel, right?
Not if you know me. And for a lot of people out there, if you know how to download an app on your TV and plug in a series of letters and numbers, that's it.
All right. Now I didn't think about that. How smart does a TV have to be? But we had your material on that TV, I think. But if not, I'll go get a
Fire Stick. Okay. It was a $20 device that plugs into the back that you can get right off the shelf at Amazon or any local computer retail store.
And even a more recent one might not even need that.
Exactly.
Is that right? But even if it's just a modestly smart TV.
Exactly.
You get the Amazon stick and
it's
put it
hard
on
to find a dumb TV these days,
right?
if you will.
But we're talking, I mean, and then I'll just have my Division 10 or my Steel Interiors guys, one of those guys install the darn thing.
Yeah.
But once we get it hanging there, you can just coach. You probably, I mean, you ought to come out and I'll buy you a beer, but you wouldn't have to come out, right? You could just probably even coach us through it.
Definitely. I've coached lots of people across the country over the phone on helping them strategize the best type of content for their screens and what kind of engaging experience they want to provide. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times it's not necessarily your core message, because a dentist, going back to that example, doesn't need to say that he's a dentist on his screen inside his store. That doesn't help anyone.
Right, you're already
exactly.
There. Right.
So it's about what's your next message? Who do you support that you want to share with your community?
Yes.
Maybe
I love that.
Maybe it's the place across the street. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's a nonprofit. Maybe you have a family member who has an unfortunate illness, and you just want to, provide some light on that on an organization that supports them.
Sure.
It's all about, your personality and who your core values support, and being able to share that with the world,
Doing that core purpose work.
Exactly.
Why are we on the planet?
Exactly.
Can we answer that question?
I love it. And I particularly love that aspect of it. And it's fun too. Today we have two guests. Sometimes we'll have 3 or 4 guests, and they enjoy watching the screen and seeing because we'll pepper it with pictures of other
I know
people.
them.
Yeah. And it adds to the dynamic, I think.
This is one of the best places to network. I have to say that Business RadioX is, every time I visit it, there's the other guests are always incredible.
Isn't that fun?
I always end up meeting with them separately and talking, and the conversation can go on and on.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
It's been fantastic. That and just on the social networks and connecting with you, Stone, and Lee, and just seeing all the people that we have in common in this beautiful city of Atlanta.
Yeah.
And
I don't know how they always find the good people. I don't know what it is.
Always get the cream of the crop.
Amazing. Yeah,
some of us just like the microphone. Let's
just say always those, right?
So I got to ask, because I almost always do, sales and marketing. How does that work for you? Is it just eating your own cooking in this one vehicle? Do you have a team out there? Are you out there shaking trees? How do you get your new business?
There's a lot of ways. It's a very complex world we live in these days.
Yeah.
More recently, I'm trying to focus on automating the smaller apples, we'll call them, like the online one-channel users to the website, some smaller tasks on our marketing page that push flyers or logos or business cards.
Like a subscription model almost?
Yeah, exactly. So that's a single one-off channel, and they can always add on to that afterwards. But my time that I spend networking is mostly going after 5-10 channel type deals and larger. Speaking now with an organization in New York that wants to focus on a specific group. It's called Jew New York, actually, and a New York Jew. I'm sorry, New York Jew.
But a niche. They want to serve that.
They want to serve that niche. They want to make a virtual tour for their areas, and obviously, there's a lot of my experience that can come into play from marketing and then the in-person experience. So we try to provide all those and create solutions that are working within their budget, but also give the experience that they're trying to deliver, right? Which is the hardest thing these days in marketing. But going back to sales, I'm still learning, to be honest. I find that I'm always trying to learn.
Well, it's a moving target, right?
Yeah, exactly.
What worked 2 years ago, and you just think you got it nailed, and boom, and then COVID hits or whatever, and you got to pivot.
Well, that's another reason it's an interesting question. I haven't had time to do any of it because everyone's just coming and I need to go this online, and we need to start selling online, and I need to start telling people about this online, and it's just everything online, which is great. And now the past maybe 2-3 weeks, we've started to see people, okay, how do we take what we've made online and bring it in store, get better use out of it now that people are coming out of the houses? And honestly, I couldn't have planned for that with SignStream, but it's a perfect solution for it.
Let's be honest. And as a lifelong sales and marketing professional, don't ever call me a salesperson, please. I resist that title. But the harder you work, the luckier you get. How many deals have we seen that we put months of work into and ultimate renditions of the proposal, and it just dies on the vine, and then something flies in the side window?
That has been my experience my entire career.
Me too. Some personnel gets changed and it's not in line with their values or core. And it's amazing.
But the harder you work, the luckier you get too.
That's
right?
True.
And you'll be heads down over here, just hitting it. And like you say, from the side door. So that's why we tell our studio partners, or we try to encourage them, just keep suiting up and showing up. And genuinely try to serve folks.
Yep.
All right. So in the coming months,
to help people.
Yeah,
That's
it's
really
amazing
what
a marvelous sales tool helping folks is. Helping people, and helping people help other people can be really lucrative, or at least that's been our fortunate experience. All right. So the focus then in the coming months for you, you're going to work toward more of these enterprise accounts, and kind of with the other hand, get some of this magic small market machine going for you. Is that the plan?
Yeah. So that's been the strategy with SignStream. Coming up, we've been working real close with Local Retta. Again, they're a small agency up here in Alpharetta.
What a cool name.
And it is.
Local Retta, they're in Alpharetta.
They're in Alpharetta, right? And they serve Johns Creek, Milton, and Alpharetta.
We got to get them in here. Or maybe in John Ray's shop. We have a studio in North Fulton.
Exactly. So, awesome.
Okay.
We'll definitely be doing that. And so they're going to, use their constituents and their network, and they really love the idea of promoting local businesses and giving deals that are really local and helping people, navigate this world and know what's around. Because, it's so sad to see all the businesses that have left, but just right on the other hand, so many have popped up. There's so many new businesses nowadays that everyone's excited to go and check out. So it's all about, creating that network of local businesses that people can enjoy from and get to know.
I think you will find, and maybe you already know this, and maybe I'm just discovering it, like a young child that they don't realize what their parents already know. And they think they know everything. But the community here in Woodstock, the business community, they've been so marvelous to me, personal experience. They're all, what can we do to help Business RadioX? What can we do to help you? And I wonder if this isn't a fertile ground for your enterprise.
That's what we've seen. The community up here is really all about helping each other out.
Yeah.
So, I hope to be able to give them the platform to do that and the opportunity. So it's really easy the way it works for the local channels. It's $50 a month, and you're on all the screens.
$50 a month.
Yep, $50 a month.
I'm not a mathematician,
Exactly.
but we're talking $500-600 a year here, right?
Cheaper than cable.
Wow.
Yep. And all we ask is that we can put up a screen in your in-store location or your office, and your ad or promotion, we ask that it's a promotion, something people would be interested in engaging with, not just a picture of you with their business name or your logo that unfortunately doesn't help people, right?
Right.
It does for certain regards, but it's all about the engagement process. So again, $50 a month, you get your promo with a QR code that people can scan it and go to either a web page or a sign up online and engage directly with your business.
Sweet.
For 8 seconds at a time with all the rest of the community promos that are on the channel.
Right.
And that's it. You can send it directly to me or go on our website and submit it right there. It's we've tried to make it real simple to bring the community together on screens.
Well,
That's
it
the goal.
sounds simple. Well, let's help you get some more screens here in Woodstock then.
Awesome.
I'll try to get the fire started
I
for
think
you.
it'd be fun to have some of the Business Radio X sessions on those screens, right? If you get some of those local business owners in here, it would be a good marriage, right?
I think so, yeah.
You know?
That's a great idea, man. See why we do this? How much fun is this? All right, let's leave our listeners with points of contact for you. Best way for them to reach out and have a conversation with you or somebody on your team.
So my website for any marketing services would be dksdesign.com. And then for signstream.net, it is exactly signstream.net. And that is the digital signage platform where if you're creating your own content, you can go ahead and load it on up and display it on your TV super easy. And then if you have any issues with that, feel free to reach out to me personally at daniel@signstream.net.
All right, Daniel Shub with signstream.net. Thanks for coming back and getting us caught up, man.
Absolutely, anytime.
What a marvelous way to invest a Tuesday morning. This has been fantastic. All right, until next time, this is Stone Payton for our guest today, Jeremy Gustafson and Daniel Shub, and everyone here at the Business RadioX family saying we'll see you next time on Cherokee Business Radio.